So, hello everybody, this is Vicky with Happy Stout Art, and today we are painting my favorite subject, a horse. And as you can see from this picture that I have of a horse, I got this off of YouTube. Photo references for artists. It's free photo references that you can paint from local photographers or whatever the case might be. Sorry, I've got to move some stuff around on my desk here to make room. Okay, so I have the picture and I have it all drawn out here, and I made it dark specifically so that y'all could see it. And so I hope y'all can hear me all right. I do have a little fan going, and that's going to probably create a little bit of background noise, but normally I listen to music when I paint, but since YouTube is very specific about violating their codes, we'll just paint quietly here for today. I'm not sure where I'm going to start. I may start with the background. In the background, I've got a printout here. As you can see, there are some trees, and they're kind of iffy. I might just draw in a little bit of stem and then leaves, and then over here we've got it really dark light dark green, sort of kind of like a sap green. So I'll probably be doing that in the background. I don't know if you could see that or not, but we'll see how this goes. I haven't painted a horse in a long time, so let's get into it, shall we? So what we're going to do is we're going to start with background, and we're going to add a bit of light blue for the sky. So let me pull out some blue here, and we're going to make it very watery, and we're going to do a little bit of the sky, and I'm going to leave holes because we're going to be putting in the trees. And I want to do this very lightly if possible. It's coming out dark, but I want to do it as lightly as possible, you know, because the trees are going to be back there in the background. And so we're going to leave some holes, and that's perfectly all right. So we're just going to do a very light blue background. It's okay if you paint into the horse a little bit. That's fine. I'm using Arches 350 gram milliliter paper, whatever you call it, for the paper today. Arches is the best you can buy. It's about $35 to $40 for 12 pages. So you know I better do this good. So you know, I'm just doing the background very lightly, just letting it flow. One thing about watercolor is that you want to let it just flow, okay? And then let's do a little bit of the foreground. I think what color I'm going to choose is this wonky yellow right here for the foreground, because the grass is really light. Kind of a really light yellowish color, so we'll just throw that in. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It does not have to be like the picture. I don't know how many times I got to tell you all this, but the painting does not have to be like the picture. You can do it any way you wish. So we're going to throw that in there. He's running through grass. We're going to make it bright and colorful to blend in. Now blue and yellow are opposite colors of each other, so this will look perfect. We don't have to paint in every blade of grass either. And in watercolor you want to leave some white spots, okay? So yeah, go over the hoof a little bit. Who cares? This is your painting. You can do whatever you want with it. So we're just gonna put in this bright yellow all around him or her. I don't know if it's a boy or girl. I didn't look. We're just going to paint that in real quickly. You got to work fast with watercolor. Watercolor dries very quickly, especially when it's 100 degrees out, and it's 100 degrees out today in El Paso, Texas. So let's do a little bit more blue here where the mane is. Kind of, yeah, there we go. So I'm sorry if the camera is shaking. I can't control that. So there we go with the background. Okay, and we're gonna wanna, I guess, let this dry for a little bit before we throw in trees and stuff. And then I see right here I've got some hair. We'll get that out of the way that came off the brush. We don't need that in our painting. There we go, just scrub it away. There we go. So that looks good so far. I forgot to tell you, I was using a number 16 brush to do the background, which is a pretty big, thick brush. And now we're going to switch to a smaller number 10 round, and we're going to do the horse. And I decided to call him Spirit because he looks like Spirit from the cartoons. So let's do the mane first. The mane and the tail are very, very dark, so let's do that first. We're gonna dip into black, which looks like I'm about to run out of. I think I better switch to my Winston Newton colors and use that black. And we're gonna do the mane. And this is why I switched to the number 10. Because it's a little bit smaller and can get a lot of coverage, but not overlapping what we just painted. Leave a little bit of white. Leaving white in watercolors is totally acceptable. Does not have to be totally dark. Okay, because you want some sunshine to pick up on the mane and the tail and give it some character. And it does not have to be perfect. His mane and tail are very thick. I'm losing my voice. I think I've got allergies. It's been terrible lately because of all the dust storms we've been having here in El Paso and all the wind. So my voice kind of has a frog in it. Ugh. I hate that. So painting horses for me is very, very fun. I love horses. I've loved them since I was a little kid. And we're going to do a little bit of his hoof. Leaving a little bit of white spaces for the shine. You know, because horses' hooves are pretty shiny when they're taken care of. So there's the hoof. And then right about here there's a little bit of shadow, so we want to put that in before we use the dark brown. And then over here there's a little bit of a shadow. We want to put that in. And then there's a little line here. His eyes are very, very dark. We'll just make it like slightly gray. So we'll do that next. And then his nose. His nose is really dark. So we'll do that. Oh, went out of the lines. Oh well. Nobody's perfect. So there we go. I'll leave a little bit of white for the nose. And then right here there's a little bit of white. So we're going to leave that. And then his ear is really dark. So we'll paint that in. I don't know if we can see the other ear. I think it's like right there. So there's the darkness. Like I said, it does not have to be perfect. And then we want to do a little bit of shadowing down here. So if it goes a little bit lighter, that's fine. But you want to do a little bit of shadowing underneath his feet. The sun is directly above where he's going. Okay, So now what we're going to do is we're going to switch colors. And we're going into maybe a little bit of burnt umber, which in my palette is like right here. That's the burnt umber. We're going to load up our brush of that. We're going to paint the rump of this horse, starting with the rear end. And that's okay if it mixes with the black. That's fine. In fact, I want that to happen because it's a little dark in the rear end of the horse. And as we get down the leg, we'll get lighter and lighter, and that's great. I want that. And then we're going to leave a little bit of white on his hoofs, because his hoofs, or his shankles, or I think it's called the shankle, is white. So we want to leave that. And then over here, it's very, very dark. So we're going to darken that. Really heavy, heavy color on your brush. And it kind of bleeds into a lighter pattern here. And I just love how watercolor just does it for you. It actually gives you that depth without you working too hard. And then let's do a little bit of the face. It's a little bit darker here. Face. A little bit darker here. We're going to switch to a lighter color for this area. There's a little bit of darkness here where his shin, I guess his shin or his elbow meets. I don't know the parts of the horse. Let's not try to name them, okay? It's a little bit brown here. And then his legs. Spirit's legs are a little bit light brown here. And notice how I'm just scrubbing it in. And then it gets darker here as it goes down. Again, leaving a little bit of the white. And if you make a mistake, paper towel is a really good eraser. So then you just go, oop. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, well, never mind. Like I said, you don't have to be perfect. We can just white it out like this, and then take your paper towel and just blot it. See, and the color comes right up. So watercolor is very forgiving, unlike other mediums. Other mediums, it would be harder to do that. Do like that. There we go. And then right here towards the bottom of his front hoof, it gets really dark. Almost black. So we'll paint that in. He's got some white socks, so we'll leave the white socks. Okay, now in the middle of the horse, you have this really light color, and then some light here, and then light here. So we're going to use a lighter brown to do that area. So we're going to take our water, go with a raw umber, and come in and paint this area with the raw umber. That would be the lighter brown. This horse has a lot of character. You want to blend this in, you can do it this way, like I'm doing here. Kind of blend the two colors in so that it, you don't have that harsh line. Let's do the face, leaving that white mark there for the little star that he has on his face. Okay, and we're not going to add in like details and stuff. We're not going to do that. Too much work. Watercolor, you don't want to do too much work. You want to paint loosely. Here's some light brown. Okay. Do I see anywhere else? Nope, not really. I think I need to add a little bit of yellow here where the chin is. We kind of missed that. There we go. Yeah, I know that was probably bugging some of you. Like you've missed a spot. Let's fill in those spots. Okay, let's make it more three-dimensional. There we go. Alrighty, so I think aside from this part right here, I don't know what happened here. Something's going on there. I don't know what. Maybe a fingerprint, maybe, or something, you know, maybe some discrepancy on the paper. But there's something going on there. I can see where the watercolor bled there a little bit. That's fine. Let it go. Let things go. Don't fuss over things. Okay, so we're gonna let this dry. And then what I think I want to do next is add in some of the green in the background, just barely noticeable. And with that, with the different kind of green, we're going to use a different size brush. We're going to use a number 16 round. Was this a number 16 round? Yes, it was. I have two number 16 rounds. I didn't even realize, although one is longer than the other, I notice. Maybe we'll use a number 10. This is I have two number 10 rounds. Check that out. What are we going to use for the plants? Well, I'll figure that out. I'll be back. So while I let this dry, I've noticed that there's a lot of character going on with this painting. There's some really cool blooms going on right over here. Some really cool blooms going on in the blue in the sky. And that's, you know what, that's okay because it adds character to your painting and really makes things pop. So you want these little blooms and character going on. It keeps the eye moving in the painting. And what we're going to do is we're going to put, see in the background here, we've got some grass here in the background. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to move it. We've got some grass going on. We've got some trees coming up like that. And so we're going to be putting in those grasses and bushes and things. And then there's a little bit of green down here. So we're going to be putting in some green there. And there's some green in the shadowing. So we're going to be doing that. Right now I'm just basically waiting for it to dry, and by testing it you can just touch it. So it's almost there. You know, I just put down a little bit more yellow because I don't want everything to be all even. It would look horrible. So to do the grass, I'm thinking about using, oops, I dropped my brush. That happens. I'm thinking about using this angular flat brush. It's actually an acrylic brush, but you can use it for watercolor. It's probably going to be a little stiff. I probably haven't used it yet. Yeah, it's stiff. So I stick it in the water and kind of push down on it, kind of hard to get it to loosen up. Now it's loosened up. Take out my green and just simply go like this. Now this is going to take some time, but this will make the greenery look three-dimensional and not all in one direction. You notice I'm turning my brush as I'm doing this. So can you see that? I hope you can see. Yeah, you can see that. Okay, so I'm turning my brush as I do this. So I'm making it all one or different directions. And it's starting to run out of green, so I'm going to pick up some more green. Let's do a little bit more. And don't want to run into his back, but if you do, it's okay. Let yourself go. And that is how you make a bush. Again, it's an angular brush like that, loaded with a lot of green on it. And it actually looks like it's blowing in the wind, and that's exactly what I wanted. And we're going to carry it on up into the background here. So there's our bush. Okay, we need to make it a little bit higher. So to do that, you just simply do this. You want to leave some white spaces for the blue to show through. Isn't that cool what you can do with brushes? How brushes make things so much easier for you to do. Let's continue that on over here. Very carefully by his face. Very carefully. In the background, there's like bushes that continue on. And the brush is getting a little bit of character to it now, which is great. I love it. It is making my job a lot easier. Do you see what it's doing? It's splitting up. The brush ends are splitting up. And that actually makes my job a whole lot easier. So we're going to continue that along this way. Kind of looks like it's floating in the air right now, but we're going to ground that with some shadowing. So, you know what? That's fine. I'm going to add a little bit more water to it now. Kind of thin it out a little bit. That is perfectly all right. If you wanted to, you could add some red dots to that and, you know, make it look like flowers. So to ground it, to make it look like it's distant, we're going to add a little bit of black for shadowing. See? Just like that. Just like that. And that will make it look distant. That will ground it. Okay. Same thing for over here. Careful not to get it into the horse. If it does, it does. No big deal. This is the fastest way to do it. Okay, so we've grounded it a little bit, and I'm going to spread these out a little bit more. Yeah. There we go. We need some green by his feet. Remember, in the shadowing, there was some green. So we're going to add a little bit of grass down here. Give it some dimension. Make it look like he's running in the grass. Isn't this fun, guys? This is so much fun. So, we got some grass going on here. Just add a little bit of that. We don't need to add, you know, we're just adding some character to this background. Make it look like, you know, there's some grass and stuff. Kind of break up that yellow a little bit. Okay, so that's pretty much how you would do the grass, you know. Not gonna be perfect, but we're just playing here, okay? We're learning. That's the whole point. Okay, now we've got the tree branches, so we want to throw those in. So we've got one here, kind of goes like so. And got branches coming out. And we're using the angular brush again to do the branches and stuff. Now, look at what I'm doing. I'm just barely putting them in, okay? Because we're going to cover that with green with another brush. And then we've got one coming up here, like so. So they don't even have to connect to the tree. We're just making hints that there's trees here, okay? So just throwing in the branches. And so got a thick one right here. So let's do that guy. Branches are not straight, they're all over the place. Okay, so now we've done that. Now we're going to take our number 10 round again. Oh, this is the number 16. Sorry, wrong one. That's the number 16. What am I doing? Okay, you're going to take the number 10 round, dip it in the green, and just tap. Tap, 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 tap. We are making the leaves on the trees. They don't have to connect. We're just hinting that there's leaves there. Sorry for hitting the camera. Yeah, we're just hinting that there's leaves. These are green trees. Okay? See how simple that is? It's very, very simple. Very, very fun. And then we're going to add some yellow too to highlight some of those leaves. So yeah, we're going to add leaves to these trees. How fun is that? And it's okay that the, sorry about that, it's the paper on my desk to keep everything clean. It's okay that they're a little pointed, that they're a little wonky. That's fine. This one's a little bit off to the distance. So, just like that. Very simple. Keep it simple. Don't be too drastic about, you know. Okay, we want to highlight those trees a little bit where the sun would be hitting it. So we're going to add a little bit of yellow into the mix to highlight some color going on there. And maybe this is somewhere in North Texas, maybe. Could be a possibility. But so fun, so much fun. Some highlights to those trees. And we are almost done. I'm thinking I want to add a little bit of color to those bushes in the background. Maybe some flowers. So see what I'm doing? I'm taking the tip of the brush and just gently blotting it. Adding some flowers to those bushes in the background. Some color, maybe? We need some color in this picture. Not that we don't have enough color already as it is, but we need some color. And you know what? I'm going to call this baby done. So that is our painting of a horse. That took me, what, 30 minutes to do? And 30 minutes of not thinking about anything else but my work that I'm working on. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. This is Memorial Day weekend coming up. Hard to believe. And I hope you have a good Memorial Day weekend. All right, y'all. Take care. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.